The image of justice is one that can be readily seen if you go to the centre of London. And it's based on, well, it could be based on three possible goddesses. Themis, one of the Titans, is the Greek goddess of divine law and order, and she's often depicted holding a pair of scales, showing balance and fairness. Sometimes she's got a cornucopia, which would suggest abundance and prosperity. She's associated with the fundamental order of things, conduct, divine law, customs, and she was the counselor of Zeus, helping him to administer justice between the gods and between human beings. In ancient Greece, her influence extended to legal and moral principles in society. Temples dedicated to her were places where disputes were settled. Dike is the daughter of Zeus and Themis, perhaps more clearly representing moral and human law, and she's depicted as a younger woman carrying a pair of scales and a sword, as in this representation here. Unlike in the Old Bailey, unlike her mother, she's sometimes presented as blindfolded, indicating impartiality. She's more concerned with everyday justice than with the justice of the gods. And her representation in reality often involves her presence in legal proceedings. She's a symbol of correct behavior, moral righteousness. But the law is not about moral righteousness. The law is about looking at the letter of the law, looking at what is written down and interpreting that. Justitia, or Lady Justice, is the Roman goddess of justice, and she's inspired both by Themis and by Dike, or Dike. She's commonly shown with the scales, with the sword, sometimes blindfolded. So she's closer in image to Dike than she is to Themis. She symbolizes fairness, impartiality, and power. And the sword signifies authority, the authority to enforce the law, and the blindfold, objectivity, impartiality. Both traditions, both the Greek and the Roman tradition, use similar symbols to convey this essence of justice. And in mythology, the figures are intertwined with divine authority and cosmic order, their personifications influencing the development of law and the ideals of fairness, of impartiality, of moral righteousness, and so on. And then we come to the shoddy reality. The nature in Britain presents a complex picture. While high-profile cases like those of Julian Assange, Tommy Robinson, and now Huw Edwards showcase the legal system's ability to hold individuals accountable regardless of their status, their wealth, their fame. Delays and inconsistencies in the judicial process suggest ongoing systemic issues. The impression of a robust and impartial legal system is undermined by prolonged legal battles, by procedural delays, and by the pursuit of individuals who happen to have got trapped in the system, like Assange, like Tommy Robinson, I think, frankly. I'm not suggesting these people are innocent at all, but I'm not suggesting that they merit as much attention as the law gives them. They just happen to have got caught up in the system, and the system is unrelenting. When you go back to Dickens, Dickens' works portray vividly the flaws and injustices of the British legal system in the Georgian Victorian period. In novels like Bleak House and Oliver Twist, Dickens exposes the inefficiencies, the corruption, the inhumanity entrenched in the judicial and penal systems. For example, in Bleak House, the protracted Jarndyce and Jarndyce case illustrates the tortuous length of legal proceedings that can drain litigants' resources and spirits. Dickens' critique remains pertinent today, particularly when you hear Hugh Grant say that he withdrew from the case. He accepted an out-of-court settlement because winning would have cost him millions. There are so many recent instances of failure, the long waiting lists of full prisons, the systemic failures in individual cases, the dragging on of the prison, of the postal, the post office stuff, the Windrush, the Grenfell Towers, the backlogs that have resulted in such long waiting lists, delaying justice for countless individuals, the prison system overcrowded, with facilities often unable to provide adequate conditions or rehabilitation. I was talking to a prison officer yesterday who was saying that prisons in the middle of Dartmoor and so on, inaccessible to families. Prisoners are okay, they're given 3 meals a day. But the families suffer acutely while their loved ones are inside. And in our obsession to deliver justice, we aren't thinking of the broader impact of that process. And it's over 100 years since Elizabeth Fry and others started the principles of prison reform, and I don't think we've got there. I don't understand why it takes so long. Andrew Malkinson's case is a recent and prominent example of wrongful conviction in the UK after spending 17 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. With no real evidence against him, Malkinson's exoneration in 2023 highlights so many flaws in the justice system. His case is not isolated. Others like Victor Neelan, Sam Hallam have also been wrongly imprisoned for years before they were freed. These instances suggest that numerous other miscarriages of justice need addressing, and soon. I think particularly of whistleblower ill-treatment, but I also think of Hugh Grant's statement. Whistleblowers in the UK often face retaliation, including job loss, legal battles, personal vilification, and the grinding of the mechanics of the law in the favour of the system, despite the laws that have been put out apparently to protect them. The mistreatment deters individuals, quite rightly, from exposing wrongdoing, perpetuating a culture of silence and complicity, because when they speak out, they are singled out and they are harried and harassed to the point of madness. And that's the issue, because going through this system encourages people just to start babbling. It's so relentless, and the procedural aspect of it all, and the formality of it all, and the hostility of it all is utterly dehumanizing. People lose agency. I've talked about this many times, about the loss of agency, and I think it's a really important issue that is so undervalued or misunderstood. Agency. You have agency. You can control when you eat. You can control, within reason, when you work, when you sleep. You can't in prison, of course. And you can't often when you are stuck in this legal system. You can't even give an answer to something, because you must give an answer that deals with the frame of reference of the question itself only. Grant, for example, noticed that winning his legal case against media intrusion would have cost him millions. Why? If he won? Why? It highlights the prohibitive cost of seeking justice and the imbalance of power between individuals and large institutions. The UK's justice system, which used to be without equal, has stumbled. So while venerable, still, it's fraught with challenges that echo the critiques that Dickens made so long ago. Long waiting lists, overcrowded prisons, wrongful convictions, the mistreatment of whistleblowers, the prohibitive legal costs, stark reminders that there's much work to be done. These issues must be addressed, they really must, to restore faith in the system and to ensure that justice is served swiftly and fairly and impartially.